Hi guys, well here we are, wisdom number 5, and if you know me or have been following me for a while, you'll know that this should not come as a surprise. But wisdom number 5 is that it is time to honour the Great Mother. Every single one of us needs to be looking at doing this. Now, I've been a climate warrior for decades. I grew up in Australia at the time when the ozone hole opened over Australia. And people who were around during that time especially know how brutal it was to feel the heat of that sun burning our skins. And, you know, there were 2 members of my family who were regularly dealing with skin cancers. So people from our generation certainly saw the reality of what we put out there into the atmosphere and its impact that it can have on society, which makes me even more surprised by how the Australian political leadership are running the country, but also people who voted for that leadership. Voting for short-term economic gains over the long-term sustainability of the planet, which I actually find quite shocking, because when we vote for climate-denying leadership, we're actually voting for our own destruction. And I know that might be too much for some people to take on board. And, you know, I'm not talking to climate deniers. You know, if you're still denying, then get on your way. I'm not going to convince you, but I do want to convince the people who aren't ready to face it yet. It's too scary, it's too big, it's too overwhelming, and I get that. And, you know, in the last 12 months, 18 months, I've been really reading everything I can, all the reports, everything the scientists have been saying, because I need to know what it is that they're talking about. I need to know if it's true. And, you know, I've read some predictions that by 2050 there'll only be a billion people left in the world, right? That's shocking. In the Himalayas, you know, the glacial melt is now considered irreversible no matter what we do. There's a billion people at the bottom of those glaciers that will be impacted by both flooding and by drought. So we're looking at massive climate refugees. You know, the UN is predicting 150 million climate refugees. Well, looking at some of the science I've been reading, I think that's totally not under predicting what's going to be coming. We could be looking at 1, 2, 3 billion people, mass devastation, you know, and this is true and it's happening. But we have a window of opportunity to make sure that it doesn't have to be as bad. And it does require some fantastic courage, and we all need to have that courage. But the first courage is to face it. Let's face it, because we need to face it. You know, when I look around the world, we're just gorging on this planet, and without thought. And we've got to stop. We've got to stop. It's really quite revolting what we're doing to ourselves. When I walk along the beaches in Phuket, the trash, the state of the water, that's not right. We shouldn't be doing that, you know. So people often ask me, where do I stand? And, you know, where do I stand? I stand with humanity. I stand with believing in the power of people and the power of good, and that we've got the courage and the ability to do this. You know, if I fought just for all of us to up our game and do the right thing as individuals for planet Earth, it's not enough. If I fought to stop the fossil fuel industry, whether it's today, close it down within a year, within 2 years, even then, it's still not enough. We need to do it. But it's not enough. Unsustainable manufacturing, especially the ones that are poisoning the waterways. You know, if we just did that, it's not enough. If we planted 1 billion trees, it's not enough. If we started to seriously look at our travel and tourism sector, the aviation industry is looking to double within the next 20 years. We can't do that. It's not enough, even if we do, right? So there are so many aspects to this, and there's, you know, I don't look at any one particular piece of the information. I'm trying to bring it all together, because that's what I do. There's specialists that can go deep into every path, and I just want us to be brave enough to listen to those specialists. But right now, whatever we're doing, it's not enough. But it doesn't mean we shouldn't be doing everything that we can, because I believe that when you personally take on your own environmental cause to make yourself live a more sustainable life, then that amplifies out to your community, but also it amplifies amplifies out into the businesses that you work in. And that's where I think we can see some real pressure. We've heard the head of OPEC say that Greta Thunberg is a threat because his grandchildren are now starting to give him a hard time around climate change. So it works. So even if you think your individual contribution doesn't matter, it all matters. So let's all make a commitment. Let's all honour the Great Mother. And we can do it in so many ways. We've got to massively reduce our consumption. We've got to stop gorging on Mother Earth. Stop buying fast fashion. Buy less clothes. Buy sustainable fashion. And there's some amazing brands coming out there. What else? Say no to single use. Anytime you're in a shop, if you're offered a plastic bag, say no. Take a backpack to put your stuff in. The shop assistants, they love it when you say no. Upgrade your aircon, your heating, your refrigeration. But before you get rid of it and you throw it out into the tip, whoever built that white good, take it back to their factory and make them responsible, because they've got to start creating a circular economy around the products that they produce. Right? So I think one of the biggest problems that we've got these days is local councils are responsible for getting rid of the trash and for the recycling. And well, guess what? They don't have that much money, right? So they're shipping it off to Asia. Well, now Asia's saying no, so the trash is going to stay in our own countries. And I'm living in one of those countries that is still having trash shipped to it from other parts of the world, right? But the companies that are creating those products, first of all, they've got to create better products. They've got to create more sustainable products. But then they should also be responsible for sustainably getting rid of the products or recreating them into something else. So we really need to look at the whole recycling culture. We need to look at businesses taking on responsibility for that rather than local councils, especially because I live in a part of the world where there's not really any such thing as local councils. So that's a bit of a Western idea anyway. We need to travel less. And if you are travelling, which I have to do for work, and my whole life is geared around travelling, and I am trying to travel less. I'll only get on a plane if I have to. But let's travel less, and when we are there, let's look for the beauty of nature. Let's share the beauty of the world with each other. So, because if you fall in love with something, you're more inclined to save it. I think we need to be starting to really start thinking about how do we push our governments to be taking private trains back into the public domain, and we need to be investing in infrastructure around public transport that's going to make people want to use it. We need to be looking at our roads. We need to be closing them down, making it more possible for people to cycle to work. We need to be looking at all sorts of alternatives around that to get people out of cars. You know, this idea that we all go to one place to go to work. Well, maybe the working from home is more sustainable. Or we create business clusters around the areas where our businesses are based so that people don't have to drive so far. Share more. If you're driving in a car and there's only one or two people in it, don't get in a car unless it's full. What else? Let's start growing our own food. One of the first things we did when we moved into where I'm living now is we put in a herb garden. I'm trying to get some lavender going because the bees love lavender, right? So plant your own stuff. Protest. Use your voice. Get out there. Don't sit by and let this happen. We can't let this happen. We owe it to our children not to let this happen. Not just, and this isn't even just parents. It's we all of us adults owe it to our future generations to have the courage to take on this fight, because it really is the fight of our lives. If you can be vegan, awesome. If you can be vegetarian, awesome. But whatever we do, let's eat less meat. Our family, which is really surprising, has definitely started moving into that. Go and watch Game Changers. I've heard some people who are disagreeing with some of the information in it, but whatever we do, let's eat less meat. In 2013, one I think is one of the great thinkers of the world, this guy, what's his name, Kishore Mubani, who's based out of Singapore, said at the time there were 500 million middle-class Asians. By 2020, there'll be 1.75 billion middle-class Asians. A McKinsey report that I was just reading also said that there would be 1 billion middle-class Asians by 2020, and I'm in Asia, right? So to my friends in Asia, right, and I come from a country that is responsible for what's happening in the world. You guys who are in Asia, born in Asia, raised in Asia, you're going to get the brunt of what's going on. So we need to make sure that this new middle class is emerging in a sustainable way, and it really is one of the greatest threats to what we're facing right now. The ability to spend. Look at the luxury consumer reports that are coming out of China. There's an astronomical amount of money being spent. We've just had Singles Days in China, setting off records again. What does it mean for our environment? Can we keep doing this? I think we're at the point where if any business is polluting, we've got to give them 12 months. We haven't got till 2030 or 2050. And I know everyone thinks, oh, that's just crazy talk, right? But we're talking economic collapse, or we're talking about catastrophic climate collapse, which will kill billions of us, if not all of us. I think it's possible. I think it's highly possible, but we've got time to act. But we need to act now, and we all need to do whatever we can, because when you are dedicated to living a sustainable lifestyle yourself, it makes you more committed to creating a larger movement for a sustainable lifestyle. And I just really want to encourage everyone to get on board with Wisdom 5, and that is, it is time to honour the Great Mother. I'm not saving the planet. I don't need to save the planet. Mother Earth is going to be fine. She'll get rid of us, and she'll burn up for a couple of thousand years, and then she'll cool down again, and then new creation will happen. She is eternal. She's here. But we now have to make the decision. Are we here? Are we going to stay here? Or maybe you've already decided that we don't deserve to, and I kind of get that thinking too. I can't give up hope. I can't. But it's up to us now, and we have to fight with everything we've got. Next climate strike, I want to see 7 billion people on the streets, because this impacts everyone. It doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter how wealthy you are, it impacts everyone. So, Wisdom 5, it's time to honour the Great Mother. Please, join me. Face it. I know it's scary. And then let's solve it. We can do it. We really can. Let's keep the hope. Love you guys.